Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to break down Lampard and Nuno Espirito Santo's tactics in Chelsea's win over Wolves that saw Chelsea claim a Champions League spot and saw Mason Mount produce a quality performance. When we break it all down, we do look at the board. We have Chelsea in a 3-4-3 and we also have Wolves in a 3-4-3. So as I've always stated that when teams do play in identical systems, there is a chance that they could cancel each other out. Chelsea were looking to press from the front in the manner that we expected them to. So that meant that the forwards pressed the center backs, the wing backs pushed higher on the wing backs. You had Jorginho and Kovacic stepping to Dendoncker and Ruben Neves, and that left their back three against Wolves' front three. Wolves, on the other hand, went about their business in a different manner. They were looking to press from the front in the earlier stages, but they did vary their pressing, and when they looked to close higher up the pitch, they did it in phases. For the most part, they were dropping off into that 5-4-1, and it did see Rudiger and Azpilicueta get more time on the ball, whereas Raul Jimenez was stepping out into the path of Zuma. Now, what it looked like Wolves were trying to force Chelsea into doing was playing the balls into Jorginho and Kovacic, and when those balls would be played out into those zones, you would end up seeing Jota and Neto blocking off the passing lanes into the Chelsea wingbacks. So basically, you would have Kovacic and Jorginho boxed into a 4v2, and that's when Wolves would look to step and swarm. So with that being said, the key to winning this game was how each side would look to bypass the opposition's press. When we look to Wolves, they did look like they had a clear tactic, and that was by having Connor Cody playing long crossfield passes into the path of Marcus Alonso. So Cody was the key man for Wolves in that opening half because he had additional time on the ball due to Giroud's inability to close him down in a timely manner. He was consistently playing those crossfield passes into the path of Marcus Alonso, and we would see Doherty, Dendoncker, and Raul Jimenez step into that zone to try and win those aerial duels over Marcus Alonso. When we look to a few examples, there was a time where we ended up seeing Doherty chest the ball across him for Dendoncker running across Rudiger. Those two players combined, and you ended up having Jimenez dropping off Zuma to receive the ball across Jorginho, but when Jimenez pushed forward, Zuma blocked his shot. When we look to another example, you end up seeing Jimenez shifting into that zone, and he's able to win the header over Alonso and nod it into the path of Neto, and that's when Neto was able to dart into that right half space between Alonso and Rudiger, and he was able to win a corner. But as you can see, Wolves had a clear tactic to bypass Chelsea's pressing. The issue that they encountered was that when they got towards that Chelsea box, they lacked that extra bit of quality and that final pass to test their goal. Meanwhile, when we go back to looking at Wolves defensively, one of the key tactical themes here was how they looked to manage Christian Pulisic. Following Pulisic's impressive substitute cameo against Liverpool, it was clear that Nuno Espirito Santo was worried of his threat in and around that final third area. So what you often saw from Pulisic was that he was receiving balls in transition in space, but Wolves often had him in 1v3 or 1v4 situations to ensure that he couldn't threaten their backline. We saw Pulisic running across Boli and Neto, and Ruben Neves came across, and then we saw him running across Boli and Dendoncker, and once again it was Ruben Neves sweeping up the danger. When he tried to drop deeper to receive the ball from Rudiger to get a running start, he was closed down by Doherty, Boli, Neto, and Dendoncker. And then we saw him misplace a pass in the final third following pressure from Doherty and Boli, along with the time when he was running at Boli and then Dendoncker tracked back to dispossess him. Pulisic was having a difficult afternoon due to Wolves' organized shape and their attention to detail. So with that being said, now we have to break down how Chelsea were able to overcome Nuno Espirito Santo's tactics. We did see Chelsea trying to overload that right side of the pitch with Reece James moving into more narrow positions and Azpilicueta joining the attack. But Wolves were equipped with that threat, and Romain Saiz, Jota, and Johnny Castro did a very good job of ensuring they couldn't get that overload. So when we look to Chelsea's ability to break down this Wolves side, it was simply due to varied movement from Mason Mount and Christian Pulisic simply dropping off Romain Saiz and Boli to get into good positions. In the earlier stages, you had Pulisic receiving the ball between the lines and driving at Giroud, but his pass was overhit. And you had Mason Mount dropping off of Roman Saiz and Jota taking a while to close down Azpilicueta. And Mount simply darted across Roman Saiz to receive Azpilicueta's pass and then cut back and try to square the ball to Giroud, but his pass was short. But ultimately, those two chances summed up how Chelsea were able to get into good positions. It was Wolves' inability to close down that left side efficiently and Pulisic's ability to receive the ball between the lines when Chelsea won the ball. When you look to two of their better chances, one sees Pulisic receiving the ball between Neves and Neto from Jorginho, and he was able to break towards that Wolves backline and slide the ball across them into the path of Marcos Alonso, but his shot was blocked. And then when we look to Mason Mount, he received the ball from Jorginho due to Neves not stepping tightly in between Johnny and Roman Saiz. And when Mount received that ball in that right channel, his cross into Giroud was knotted inches over the net. Mason Mount's wonderful free kick put Chelsea ahead just ahead of halftime, but minutes later, what we ended up seeing was that it was Jorginho again being able to play a pass beyond Dendoncker into the path of Pulisic in transition. Pulisic was encountered by Boli and Ruben Neves, but he was able to poke the ball into the path of Mason Mount once again, and it was Mount who was able to slide the ball between Cody and Roman Saiz for Giroud to break free. So the recurring theme in that opening half for Chelsea was that Mason Mount and Pulisic were able to find the ball in pockets of space in various manners, and that was an issue that Nuno Espirito Santo had to solve going into halftime. He ended up bringing on Adama Traore for Neto, and what we ended up seeing there was that Traore did initially have an impact by quickly turning across Marcos Alonso to break in transition, but Raul Jimenez wasted his individual slalom in the early stages of that second half, and then when he was able to turn across Marcos Alonso and split Alonso and Kovacic to play in Doherty, he was also unable to create a chance from that good position. However, Lampard was able to neutralize that threat by having Kovacic shift over to help out Marcos Alonso against Adama Traore, and moving forward for Chelsea, it was a comfortable half that ended up seeing Mason Mount once again being involved in a lot of their key moves. But as you can see, Nuno Espirito Santo did have a clear tactical ploy here. Those crossfield passes towards Marcos Alonso, and then having Adama Traore's speed and power get the better of Alonso. But Lampard did well to at least counter the Adama Traore threat. Going forward in the first half, just the varied movement of Pulisic and Mason Mount away from their markers allowed Chelsea to create chances, and Jorginho's passing ability shouldn't go unnoticed here, because in a lot of those key moves, it was Jorginho breaking the lines to get Mount and Pulisic into good attacking positions as Chelsea finish in the top 4 and will qualify for Champions League football next season. Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.